Hi everyone, Mr. Peabody here. I'm going to talk to you about a case that's actually going on at the moment. There's actually going to be a huge inquiry about this. I don't know why. Personally, I don't know why. Uh, what happened was, I think it was a year or so ago, a girl, she was brought into Fiona Stanley Hospital, which is one of the newer hospitals in Perth, and she had to wait 90 minutes in an emergency department. Anybody that's been to an emergency department, if you're not showing really signs of real struggle, you can be waiting there for hours, and that's nothing new. The parents showed up with the child. The child had a fever, and her hands were cold. So, if they would have walked up, just a hint to everybody else, if you walk into an emergency department, tell them that you're having heart palpitations. Straight through, no problem. But if you say you've got a fever and your hands are cold, you don't really go on the priority list. But even so, even though she wasn't on the priority list, 90 minutes is not a long time to wait for care in an emergency department. I mean, they could have taken her to the doctor, they could have taken her to a medical clinic, but no, they took her to the hospital, the emergency room. And normally that's a fairly busy place. Anyway, what happened was this girl was taken to the emergency room, and after 90 minutes, she had a bit of problems. So they did take her straight in, and the girl died. Unfortunately, I think it was a 7-year-old girl. She died, and they're making a big stink about it now. But I mean, let me tell you the things that they don't tell you on the news. She died of sepsis. Okay, sepsis is when you get a bacterial, well, it can be viral, but it's like mainly bacterial infection in your blood system. Right, that is really bad. Right, and how do you get sepsis? Well, it can be something as simple as like you had a bit too much roughage in your shit, and it scraped the inside of your bowel, and it opened up a little window, and because your bowel is full of bacteria and surrounded by the circulatory system, it's very easy to get bacteria into your blood system from the bowel. So it happens. It's what they look for. It's like, say, if you got like a gunshot wound or a stabbing or thing like that, that's the first thing they go for. They'll treat you with antibiotics because it's like they know you've opened up a can of worms. Because your bowel has a lot of bacteria in it normally, and it doesn't mix too well with your circulatory system, which tries to keep everything clean. But this girl had sepsis, which means that she had a cut or some sort of injury, and bacteria was allowed to leak into her circulatory system. That doesn't happen over 90 minutes. You're talking about days or a week, depending on how bad the injury is. So the parents brought the kid in basically on her last legs. She was teetering at the precipice, and then they brought her into hospital, and she died in the hospital. And now they're saying, well, the hospital did wrong. She had to wait 90 minutes, and the staff didn't treat her correctly. They didn't treat us correctly. And so now it's looking like a bit of a lawsuit. I want to know how she got the sepsis in the first place. That's what I'd be looking at. And plus, there was a couple that were here illegally, and so they were sent to a camp for illegal people, and one of their daughters got sepsis. Sepsis is not a common thing to get. If you show like even the slightest bit of hygiene, sepsis is not something you get commonly. As I said, you would need like a severe wound, like a stabbing or a shooting, or you need a severe wound and then allow it to get infected, which does not happen all the time. And so how did either of these children get sepsis? I could tell you how possibly they got it, because it comes down to hygiene. It's like I'll give you an example. What's the easiest way to get sepsis? Get a cut on your hand and wipe your ass, and don't wash it. Um, it's like, but they're blaming the hospital, which I think is absolute bullshit. But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Sepsis, yes. Once sepsis takes hold, there's not a lot the hospital could have done. They could have dosed her up with all the antibiotics they had. I mean, she was given, I think, 9 or 10 shots of adrenaline just to try to keep her alive. But I mean, like, as I said, the parents brought her in and she was on her last legs. There was nothing the hospital could have done. But now there's going to be a whole inquiry, and they're putting the hospital in a bad light. And they were saying the hospital's understaffed, blah blah blah. Is the hospital understaffed? Yes. True, that is true, but it had nothing to do with her dying. She was already on the brink. Anyway, see ya. Take care.